Alright guys, we've got Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker fighting over the WWF Championship in the hallowed halls of Madison Square Garden. What's a song that we could have that could really hook the kiddos?
I got it, Vince. How about AC/DC's Highway to Hell?
That's a great idea. It's on the highway to hell. Ha ha ha! The highway to hell. I'm a genius. It's the highway to hell. And wait, how much do they want to charge us for it? We're just going to dub it over when we do the video release. Ha ha ha! I'm a genius, damn it.
I'm John Renton with the retro view of WWF SummerSlam 1998 from the hallowed halls of Madison Square Garden. We had around 21,500 or so fans. We had 655,000 pay-per-view buys, which is far exceeding what the 1997 and 1996 and 1995. Basically, it was a really goddamn big buy rate. Also shot my goddamn voice doing that terrible Vince McMahon impression. And you're welcome. You will never unhear Highway to Hell that way again. So, yes, basically this was when Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker and a host of other matches. You had Triple H and The Rock and a ladder match. You had a really great goddamn undercard, sans one or two matches, but you had a raucous crowd in Madison Square Garden, the hallowed halls of Madison Square Garden, rich in the history of professional wrestling going all the way back to Vince McMahon's senior days. And I love the entrance, basically where they had the pyro in the ring, and then they just had the entrance where the fans could just get there and touch everybody. And it was the home of Survivor Series 1996, where Sid beat Shawn Michaels, and it was fucking tremendous. And speaking of Shawn Michaels was not part of the in-ring roster at this point, the active roster, as it were. He was the commissioner, popping in and out, that kind of stuff. He was also popping all kinds of things before he finally had to get clean. And at this point, the WWF was steamrollering ahead of WCW in the ratings. Yes, it was still somewhat close, but after beating WCW in the ratings for the first time in nearly 2 years, they then, they would trade some victories. Then Goldberg would beat Hogan. We would have that victory for Nitro. By we, I mean, well, the company. There's no we. The fans were the true winners of the Monday Night Wars. And then, yeah, we were just getting ratings, victories traded. WCW was still doing pretty well on pay-per-view, but they weren't going to hit 655,000 pay-per-view buys. They only hit 700,000 ever once. They only hit above 500,000 a couple times. And while you had Taker and Austin in the main event, meanwhile, just a couple weeks prior, you had the annual, I think that's how the word goes, the Sturgis event, Road Wild, which was Hog Wild 1996, where they had Jay Leno compete in a tag team main event. That shows exactly where WCW's head was at, where its head was at. And then you had what WWF is doing. And by no means was WWF WWE perfect. I'm calling it WWF because not only was it that, but this sweet shirt that my sister painted the logo of. Yeah, really glad to have this shirt. Also, it's very comfy. That being said, yeah, they weren't exactly doing everything right. They would do a bunch of stuff wrong creatively. But they could do no wrong in the fans' eyes because the fans were the true winners. And yeah, WCW would start to really circle the drain. They would only get above 400,000 pay-per-view buys one time in 1999. That was Super Brawl 9, believe it or not. Look at that card and tell me you're not surprised that hit 400,000 pay-per-view buys. 485,000. Anyway, let's get to some pay-per-view buy figures from earlier in the year and a little bit later on. So, Mania 14 in Boston. That had 730,000 domestic pay-per-view buys, 809,000 worldwide. So, yeah, you had about 70 or so, 80 or so thousand, that is, that bought the pay-per-view worldwide, but 730,000 way above the 237,000 for WrestleMania 13 the year prior in Chicago. And then you had In Your House Unforgiven, that was Undertaker and Kane in an Inferno match in Greensboro, 306,000 pay-per-view buys. You had Over the Edge 1998, where you had Dude Love against Stone Cold Steve Austin in a very overbooked but very fun main event. And it's a damn shame that Pat Patterson didn't get drilled on his head. And Pat Patterson had everything to do with that Ring Boy scandal, and I will die on that hill. But not before he died, hopefully horribly. So that being said, yeah, I know he created the Royal Rumble and everything, but there's a lot of creepy stuff about him, and it holds true. They were in Milwaukee. They had 214,000 pay-per-view buys, so not exactly stellar. King of the Ring 98 in Pittsburgh. Yes, Foley and Undertaker in that tremendous steel cage, Hell in a Cell match. I mean, I know, Hell in a Cell, steel cage. It's a giant dome of steel, a square of steel in Pittsburgh. 320,000 pay-per-view buys. Yeah, they didn't actually do much better than In Your House Unforgiven, which is surprising. But that match pretty much was the cementing of the fact that nobody was going to be able to beat it. They were not, because no WCW talent was going to do that. Canyon tried to take the plunge off the War Games 2000, whatever the hell cage it was, the Raid to Rumble cage. In the same arena where Owen Hart fell to his death. Good sensitivity there. But In Your House Fully Loaded. In Fresno, 347,000 pay-per-view buys. Pretty goddamn shocking. And then we get to the aforementioned SummerSlam. Huge buy rate. Breakdown In Your House. Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 342,000 pay-per-view buys. Judgment Day, 1998. In Your House. The Rosemont Horizon, 350,000 pay-per-view buys. Survivor Series, 1998. Where they didn't recreate the Montreal Screwjob. Shut up. It was at the Kiel Center in St. Louis, Missouri. 506,000 pay-per-view buys. They took the chance for The Rock to be cheered away and then gave him the green light, and they were ready to go right after Backlash 99. Then the following SummerSlam was in Minneapolis. 567,000 pay-per-view buys. 600,000 worldwide. More on that event in a little bit. So now let's just basically get into the whole goddamn thing right there. I just like going through the facts and figures because it's fascinating. Also, some of this card isn't really worth talking about. The dark matches, by the way, were Too Much, Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor, or whatever the fuck he was called at this point, against LOD 2000. Too Much won. That's what they were doing with LOD at this point. Sunny was no longer their manager. She wasn't very... And then they had Paul Ellering come back in the interim and do the thing where he was knocking the LOD, and it was the Disciples of the Apocalypse. More on them here in a bit. Gangrel against Dustin Runnels when he was not the artist formerly known as Goldust and all that. And then Disciples of the Apocalypse took on Bradshaw and Vader. Vader was still competing on WWF programming in, at this point in 98. I, for some reason, thought that he was released right after, King of the Ring 98. Nevertheless, yeah, so that's your dark matches right there. Now let's get to the fact that we have a package on Taker saying that Kane will not be interfering. Kane is the tag team champions I'm the tag team champions along with Mankind. But it's Taker and Austin, and Taker said it will be one-on-one. You can trust me, I'm an evil doctor. So, JR and Lawler on commentary. Val Venus coming out to cut a promo about how much sperm he, let out of his system. It's funny that Val Venus is now taking the high moral ground, he says, and knocking trans people, knocking a whole bunch of stuff. Apparently, he's taken too many hits to the goddamn head. Val Venus could never win a goddamn fight against anybody legitimate. Was a pretty average wrestler, that was basically given a gimmick that he probably hated, but you know what made him more money than him just being the standard, boring-ass piece of shit that he is, could ever make. Because who the fuck was Sean Morley before he got the Val Venus character? I'm sure he worked before, but who the fuck was he? And yeah, he seems to really be going off the goddamn deep end and proving that maybe there's a reason why once 2000 went away and he was part of Right to Censor and they brought him back as Val Venus in 2002, that no one really cared. Because no one really fucking cared about Sean Morley. And remember when he showed up in TNA in 2010 and it was terrible? Yeah. So maybe Sean Morley should probably try to, pull his head out of his goddamn ass, which would be really difficult to do since he's practically Human Centipede himself. That being said, D'Lo Brown has chest protector. This is when the Nation was still going on, but the Nation would pretty much be dissolved soon after this. It was for the European title. Besides Davey Boy Smith, the European Championship is synonymous with D'Lo Brown. So the pyro smoke, by the way, was still plaguing some of this. Apparently, Madison Square Garden didn't pay for proper ventilation. To be fair, it was not only an old building, but, a building that maybe, I don't know, was great for wrestling, but not great for anything, as far as keeping everybody's breathing actually going properly. But nevertheless, Edge is in the crowd. This isn't the only time that we see Edge, which is good, except the match that he's involved in. D'Lo was good in the ring. I don't know about his selling. He sold weird. And then Val just wasn't very good. And speaking of not very good, there's somebody that's just not very good right now. He's not very good with the fact that the European Championship, which is a championship for some reason that you really liked. Why did you like the European Championship? You're not even from Europe. Were your ancestors from Europe? See, this is Sir, by the way. He has not been seen on camera in a while, but I adopted him about 7 years ago. 7 years ago. 7 years ago I got you. That is my cheekbone. Ow. Ow. Adopt no shop. See, you like D'Lo. You like the frog splash. You don't blame him for what happened to Draws, and nobody else should either. Follow Sir's example right here. Follow the producer. Follow the producer. Hi. Follow the producer's example. You don't like Val. You don't even know how trans people, live their life, but you accept them as they are because you're a cat and you accept people. Be more like the producer. So anyway, let's just move on from that. D'Lo targeted the back of Val, and then a powerbomb off the top for 2. We didn't really get much in the way of tremendous action, even though they kept the pace up at times. It would also stall. The lowdown missed a little bit later. The referee got involved for some goddamn reason, trying to get the chest protector off of Val after he stripped it off of D'Lo, and then Val shoved the ref. We got a DQ finish. It was after 15 minutes. If it was after 10, it might have been okay, but they went long enough. They should have had a clean finish. Ironic, given Val's character. And then Val hits the referee with the money shot, and there you are right there. So we then see earlier on Heat, Stone Cold destroyed a hearse. Mankind said, I'm not going to get the deposit back on this. And he has a sledgehammer. Why don't you call my name? He's also got to defend the tag titles on his own because Kane is nowhere to be found. Oh, darn. Speaking of guys that were better when they didn't talk and probably should have never gotten into politics because he's not intelligent. It's not because I disagree with people, by the way. It is because if you're going to be poisonous and toxic, I'm going to continue to call it out. Because, sure, nobody's perfect. Well, Glenn Jacobs and Sean Morley are 2 of the worst examples of wrestlers that probably should just learn to shut up and wrestle. And I'm not talking about the great podcast by Brian R. Solomon, which is a great podcast. Kai and Tai, yeah, Dick Togo was in this. I know his name's Dick Togo. Work with me. Against the Oddies in a handicap match. Man, Giant Silva sucked. Poor John Tenta. This was shit. I know it's supposed to be a comedy match. That only helps if you have comedy. Luna slammed Yamaguchi-san after he got his shoe taken away. Who takes away a Japanese businessman's shoe, honestly? And yeah, triple choke slam won it. Garbage. Absolute garbage. X-Pac versus Jeff Jarrett, the hair versus hair match was not garbage. It wasn't great, but Howard Finkel got his head shaved a little bit earlier by Southern Justice and Jeff Jarrett. Now, Jarrett basically stopped almost all of X-Pac's flurries. And X-Pac kept missing shit. Hit one Bronco Buster, missed a dive in the corner. And then Southern Justice showed up a little bit later. Howard Finkel, by the way, got knocked down. And he got back up again until years after. I'm sorry. Rest in peace, Howard Finkel. But Southern Justice show up and they're like, here, let's have the guitar. Oh, we done fucked up because we're the Godwins. And boom, El Pac Kong. That was terrible. Make some noise. And yeah, despite the fact there were guitar remnants in the ring, Pac covered him 1, 2, 3. And then the Headbangers, Draws was there, and people were pinning Jarrett down to get his head shaved. Tale as old as time, and well, Jarrett, honestly, having the shorter hair worked for him. So, there we are. And Doc Hendricks was at the Lion's Den, where Owen and Shamrock would have their match a little bit later. Yet Method Man was in the crowd. Remember when he did that song Judgment Day? I can name like maybe 3 songs that he's done, and that's the only one that's coming to mind right now. Cole was talking to The Rock, and earlier Rock targeted Triple H's knee. Triple H would actually have a legit knee injury that would necessitate him getting some kind of surgery and being out for a little bit, so good job there. So, Mark Marrow and Jaqueline, thank you very much, Derb, if you happen to be watching this. He gets it. If you get it, I love you guys. Against Sable with her mystery partner, Edge. Edge's WWF career did not get out to the best goddamn start, did it? Look, I have nothing against Mark Marrow as a person, and he tried, and injuries do happen, and when the injury bug bites, it will end up basically not letting go most times. Mark Marrow did not end up working out. He got a lot of money, and he tried, but he basically became his own worst enemy. And also Sable became more over than Marrow, because some horny men in the audience apparently thought she was attractive. I'm not going to knock you guys if you thought she was attractive. I'm just going to question what you actually like in women, because she was ugly. I'm sorry, even as a teenager, I was like, what? Why is anybody fascinated by her? But she got a lot of guys to, be interested in the product. She couldn't talk, she couldn't fucking work, and she couldn't do anything except do stripper dances, which, great, that's fine. Doesn't belong on a wrestling show, but whatever. It's not the moral high ground. She just fucking sucked. And got a lot of money from WWF that she didn't deserve. Women that broke their bodies, Luna Vachon, Medusa, so many others deserve so much more money than Sable ever deserved to earn. So, yeah, I'm glad she's not part of the company. Maybe marrying Brock wasn't the best goddamn idea given what happened. But yeah, Sable pinned Marrow. This was garbage. Absolute garbage. Because Sable was garbage and deserved to be treated like garbage as far as, any fan backlash. So Mankind is encouraged by Vince to basically defend the titles. And if you defend the tag titles, guess what you're going to do? You're going to be in the Madison Square Garden Hall of Fame very, very soon. Okay. And then he says, I got 13 words for you. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I knew I was going to screw that up the instant I tried to say it. But Vince looks confused. This is where Vince is still going through the weird transitional period of being a heel. And he even brought out a silver platter. Bring me my nuts on a silver platter. And Owen and Shamrock, we see the build there, and Owen targeting Shamrock, and Shamrock, having won the King of the Ring. Bet you forgot Shamrock won the 1998 King of the Ring. Didn't exactly go anywhere. Owen and Shamrock had a Lion's Den match. I was in a theater adjacent to Madison Square Garden. I don't know the geography or the landscape, or the landscape with invisible hand, that's what it was. I don't know how that works, but they had enough people there, and Jimmy Jack Doan, the referee, was there. Dan Severn showed up, and they took it seriously. It's hard to do a worked UFC match unless you have Dana White booking it, har. But, look, some UFC fights are fucking works. I don't think there's any debate about that. I'm not saying all of it. But the crowd loved Shamrock. This was well worked. It wasn't great, but it was what it was. And Ankle Lock won it. Shamrock got his revenge on Owen. And it would actually be part of the breakdown main event. The triple threat cage match, I believe. Mankind, Rock, and Shamrock. Okay, an interesting one. So then Austin says he respects Taker, but he will take every cheap shot he can. He will basically just kick him in the groin if he has to. And the Outlaws kicked the tag division in the groin by beating Mankind in a Falls Count Anywhere match in about 5 minutes. And I know the point of it. Mankind was overmatched. And they brought out a dumpster. A red dumpster. That had the lid that basically was covered enough. And then, once they beat Mankind, even after a botched finish where the music started playing, Kane suddenly was in the dumpster. How did they not notice a 300-something pound man that's about 7 feet tall curled up in a dumpster? Does nobody bother to check this stuff? Yeah. The Outlaws took Foley to the dumpster. Kane was in there. Kane then took the sledgehammer and did this. This does not look like they took a sledgehammer to him. But that's it. All right. The DX band played Triple H to the ring, and the DX band was terrible live. The Chris Warren band, I think. Yeah, well, War and Peace couldn't have saved this goddamn thing, but The Rock makes his entrance, and that was to kill time to get all the musical instruments and implements and bullshit out of it. The Chris Warren band was terrible. Absolutely terrible. If they're all still alive, they should have found something else to do. Triple H with China against The Rock with Mark Henry. Intercontinental Championship ladder match where only 2 ladders were utilized. And that's smart. If you use 2 to 3 ladders in case one breaks, that's okay. Having a spare, that's fine. Not having about 15,000 ladders around the goddamn ring just to do stunts, because it's not good. But this match was very good. They just had a 2 out of 3 falls match at Fully Loaded the previous month, which I believe went to 30-minute time limit, so you didn't get a finale there. Rock had been the champion since, I think, December of 97. So he'd had it for a bit. They were going to do a switch where Shamrock was going to win at Mania 14. That didn't work out. Or was it the Rumble? I think it was Mania 14. But then, Shamrock won the King of the Ring and would go on to be Intercontinental Champion shortly after this because, Triple H's knee was fucked. They used the ladder well, but they told the story through Impact, and they actually used the ladder properly. They didn't just climb on the thing or use it for stunts. When they used it, and when they hot-shotted people into it, or slammed people into it, or threw the ladder on their opponent, it made sense. Imagine that. I would argue this should have main evented the goddamn show, but I get why Austin and Taker did. But as far as match quality, this was much, 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 much better than Austin versus Taker, but more on that in a bit. Rock targeted the knee. He was using a ladder. And then Mark Henry gets involved. China hits him. For what that's worth. That was a feud that certainly happened. Or at least they had skirmishes. Triple H took a nasty spill off the ladder. Rock got cut at one point. It was bleeding. That's about the most you would see The Rock bleed in 98. And we got, at one point, Rock had the ladder. Triple H hit the ladder with a chair. And then boom, boom, boom. And that was nice. That was a good spot. And what was enjoyable about that is the simple fact that, again, they told the spot through Impact. They didn't just say, we're going to hit somebody in the head with a chair, or we're just going to we're going to pile ladders on people. They're going to tell the story. This is when the ladder match meant something. That isn't wrestling evolving, by the way, having a bunch of goddamn ladders around the ring. That's dissolving and devolving and eroding. So basically, the crowd is rumbling at this point because they wanted to see Triple H get the victory. So Rock does manage to slam Triple H on it, hits the people's elbow, the rock bottom after, Triple H tries to jump off rock bottom to a pop, boom. Seems like we're really just going to be going home here. And we do, because Mark Henry throws a powder in the eye. Apparently Shawn Michaels was backstage. China hits a low blow on Dwayne's Rock Hard Johnson. And Triple H gets it, and the crowd roars. I mean, I got goosebumps just thinking about it. They roared. That was great shit. In fact, I got to bring the producer back on here because he was loving this. You were loving this ladder match. You loved this ladder match. You just wish that Triple H had been able to defend that championship, didn't you? Didn't you? He's just looking up there, pondering. It's like, I wonder if I could hang him from the ceiling, something like that. Hi. So, basically, The Rock ended up losing that. He would end up turning de facto face soon after this. They would allude to it. They actually had exclusive home video footage. You liked that. You liked that scene. You didn't understand why they kept blinking the graphic on there. But then, Rock would then turn heel. Again, at Survivor Series 98. Just enough to give people a tease. I do not... You rescued me and I rescued you. Why do you hate me? Huh? So, basically we get Undertaker's guitar music entrance. Okay. I'm going to have to get him a treat, basically, to justify what I just did there. So, anyway, Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out. WWE Championship match. And look, they were wrestling and things were going good. And then they bonked heads and Austin was knocked out. Then it went off the goddamn rails. Oh boy, you could tell Taker was having to talk Austin through this thing. And these things happen, but Austin's had lousy luck at SummerSlam. He wasn't even part of the 1995 one because he was still in WCW and then would get released from WCW and then would go to ECW. But yeah, SummerSlam 1996, after winning King of the Ring, the only reason he won is because the rope broke and Yokozuna tripped up. And then he got his neck nearly snapped at the previous SummerSlam, did a retro review of that, and here he got knocked out. And then in 1999, he got his knee tangled in the rope, and he was already dealing with a bunch of issues that would necessitate neck surgery and other stuff. And 2000, he wasn't part of it. In 2001, he had that great match with Kurt Angle that, Austin was still fucked then, and he wasn't part of 2002 or 2003 as far as a wrestling capacity in 2003. Yeah, not the best track record of SummerSlam. Yeah, Austin was not okay, and this went off the rails. I mean, they worked well, but this was off the rails. Taker saw Kane and said, "Go back." And then they go into the crowd. Taker then leg drops Austin to the Spanish announcer's table. Taker is takering over, basically. Sorry for the bad pun. And what he ended up doing was he went for old school at the wrong time, and then I think Austin ended up hitting a low blow on him inadvertently, not meaning to hit the stunner 1, 2, 3. And then, Austin got a show of respect from Undertaker, and that was it. And that was pretty much the end of that right there. So, yeah, you could argue it's one of the better SummerSlams, but it was fraught with some issues. At least Triple H and Rock delivered. Not that Austin and Taker didn't deliver on star power, but oh boy, Austin was not good during that match, as he was knocked out. That being said, let me know what you thought of this particular show in the comments, please. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rentlin. I'll see you soon.